Hi all, and welcome to the next part of the what is now known as the What Is series. And we've covered many aspects of what is to give deeper understanding and explanations for. And we're going to go into two others today. This is the Truth, Honour and Integrity Show. My name's Thomas Williams. Enjoy the show. There's a peace inside us all. Let it be your friend, the song says. That is the soul, spirit, life package. And that plays into today's show. Apologies, I still have the remnants of a bit of a cold, so I may be coughing a bit, but we'll see. But this is the latest addition to our series explaining the various disciplines of life we all face every day, yet too often fail to grasp its meaning. It is all about us and exposing who and what we are as people and what roles we are actually playing here on Midgard. Some people have stated that certain aspects about work on themselves has not been explained properly by THI. I would personally reject that statement, as some people just don't want to work on themselves, sadly. And all of which is fine, as that is your free will choice. But how is that actually helping you or anyone else? And this show has two components to it, and you all have to decide which side of it you are truly on, as lying to the self is not conducive anymore either. This is about service to self and followed by service to others. The story behind it, the development of it, and the cosmic component connecting it all together. I will ask this question of you all: is or does this next section reveal you? Service to self. In certain stages of newly developing consciousness, in order to promote the forward growth of the individual soul spirit throughout many dimensionalized identities, the service to self or negative polarization is necessary and a natural part of the mechanics of creation when seeding a new race consciousness. Sadly, we are not a new race. Now, at the development stage of the first three layers of the mind, the three layers of ego, a third-dimensional human being is purely service to self. The third chakra or solar plexus is the conscious mind matrix, to which the spiritual being may learn how to manifest via the projection of lower thought substance in order to navigate in the material realms. And this results in developing consciousness to learn how to individualize through the ego personality to manifest individual experiences and experience a spectrum of emotional sensory states. In other words, it's all about experimenting experiences and lessons. Now, many lower vibrations or spectrum of frequency that may include mental thoughts of anger or fear may be helpful states in spiritual progression and consciousness development throughout the many life stream experiences. However, what has happened on planet Earth during the last dark cycle is not merely a service to self negative polarization of free will and chosen states of consciousness of the soul. Through negative aliens' invasion of the planet Earth through the genetic alteration of human and planetary DNA, installation of alien machinery to install frequency fences and net. The NAA, Negative Alien Agenda, to implant humanity with mind control alien implants is a biowarfare strategy with which to control the planet, humanity and the soul through directing holographic inserts which alter, modify and damage DNA. And what has occurred to humanity is not a simple result of choices made to service the self. The NAA objective is an intended annihilation of the human species' original DNA and obliteration from existence by erasing the historical record from this universe. Now, part of the problem of the service to self is they created a consumerism and materialistic value system. As a collective society, we have been fed disinformation and conditioned towards believing in the mass deceptions and lies about the absolute nature of 3D material reality as the only reality that matters in existence. And with a material and consumer-oriented reality based upon accumulation, people tend to default into service-to-self behaviours and death culture vibrations. As individuals, we also have been predominantly conditioned by the cultural environment to respond to others around us with misleading information and dishonesty, in order to achieve personal goals or desires that are based solely on this consumer material value system. In other words, chasing the shekels, and people will do the most awful things to get money from others. In the service to self-value system, the socially engineered death culture rewards those who act as the impersonators. Essentially, as predatory liars and bad actors, people that intentionally deceive others that are more vulnerable for their own strategic advantage. In the current reality, if a human reinforces the controller agenda and stays and plays service-to-self games, is a predatorial liar and disinformation agent to gain advantage over others, he or she will be greatly rewarded on the material plane. And that is the quote-unquote Jewish way of operating. Be greedy, manipulative, self-serving, have no conscience, a harvester and scammer that society has copied. In the classic line of, "We will make man in our image." And the only way to stop rewarding liars in one's life is to see them in action and commit to banish the lies, possibly confronting or evicting the people and dark entities that continue to spread lies and disinformation in order to serve themselves. And the greatest thing to do is to stop yourself and then others doing it. And people often think this is the high level people, but service to self is the dominant culture in the masses, which makes us no different to them. And most people are conditioned to lie without comprehending the impact and result that the energetic vibration of lies and deception will generate in their lives. In other words, they don't understand the flow of life. They do not see how the vibration of dishonesty ripples outward to impact many others, such as influencing the lives of their loved ones. And while there are many reasons for lying, most people lie for their own personal advantage, to gain financial or economic benefits, to escape and avoid confrontations with other people, and to cover up mistakes that hide unflattering information. Yet most people want to believe they are generally honest and truthful, and may place limits around how much they are willing to lie to others in a range of different social circumstances. But everyone thinks they are nice, truthful, soul-developed, free of shadows, inner traumas, and upstanding people. Yet reality kicks in and asks, if most people are like that, how is the world in such a mess, particularly on a social and societal level? And this is why people stay in their heads, masking reality, masking themselves, and that worked up until 2020 to a point. But it doesn't work anymore. People are being exposed daily now, even in our own group, and that is not going to stop. We are all being exposed and judged until the truth prevails. And the more lies we are willing to tell others, the more we are lying to ourselves, until the lying becomes natural and compulsive to the level that there is no longer any emotional discomfort experienced when we are fully aware of and engaging in deceiving others. And when the masses are spoon-fed deceptions and falsehoods by the power elite who have collected the wealth, celebrity, fame or status, the bigger the lies spread can be made easier to swallow. The manufactured propaganda and celebrity are continually promoted in this way in order to reaffirm our false beliefs about the 3D reality. A case of, if you keep repeating the lie, it becomes the truth. Except it's not the truth at all, and your frequency gives it away. As more people become attuned to the new frequencies, the more they will expose the hidden secrets and lies of those around them and within them. And no, you are not immune. Nobody is. But if you had developed to operate in the heart instead of the head or the mind, things would be so much easier now. The mind control conditioning is designed in such a way that if people are exposed to a factual and truthful representation, but it does not fit into their belief system or worldview, the majority of the time they will completely ignore the information. And there are mind control implants that work as mind slides. So the mind slides off the unapproved topic and just ignores the information as if it was never communicated, and then moves mental focus onto something else very quickly. Further, some people will tend to ridicule the information and even attack the messenger if it's being perceived as threatening to their ego personality's belief systems. Indeed. But here is a ponder for you all on the lying to the self. Are you, by lying to yourself, creating an altar, rendering yourself as host possessed? Didn't think of that, did you? But you know who you are really lying to. The soul spirit package. The very thing that gave you life. And we cannot ignore the pile of lies upon lies around us anymore. Collectively, there's a radical push piercing the veil through the astral walls of black magic that have been filled with spells of deception. And as the veil falls, so does our secrets and lies. As we banish the lies from our lives, we shatter the prettily packaged illusions, and the content rises up to the surface consciousness where we can finally see the larger pieces of truth. We stop participating in the rewarding of liars and punishing of those people that are actually being honest. The truth of disclosure lives inside of us all now, and it is in what you can finally perceive as the nature of reality that is actually the honest truth. But part of the service to self problem lies in the lack of empathy, which we've covered recently. Altruism or humanitarianism is the behaviour of service to others that has a capacity to feel empathy and compassion for others and is aimed at benefiting another person, group, or the planet. Egotism is a behaviour that is acted out for personal gain or service to self. As the destructive habits of the negative ego form into entrained brain patterns of narcissism, then potentially psychopathy, the person digresses into primal behaviour which has no experience of higher emotional states, along with a lack of empathy and a lack of remorse. And yes, the lack of remorse for their poor actions and behaviours has become a common theme in society, and even in part in our own group. A lack of remorse will keep you trapped in the astral and never developing your natural skill sets. But people often use humanitarianism to promote their own selves, their agendas, and only what they are interested in, which is another lie to the self and others. So they will get involved in an altruistic group, all whilst promoting themselves and their own interests. And the most common form of revealing the lie is when their speeches and chats involve heavy use of me, myself, and I. I'm asking you all to go back and look at your recent interactions. Is it riddled with me, myself, and I? Because true altruism speaks only of we, us, and our. And you do realise that lying to the self and others means you lack true empathy. Something else to ponder on. Egotism evolves into pathological minds. The conceit of egotism describes a person who acts to gain value for self-serving motivation and taking in an excessive amount of resources than that which he or she gives back to others. And usually these actions of taking in others' energy, time and resources and is accompanied with very low ethical standards and displaying our low moral character traits. And as the song from our show says, the less that you give, you're a taker. And this is also called consumptive modelling or energetic vampirism. How many of you would recognise the vampire within the self? Well, that's not me, people will say. I do not drink blood. True, hopefully anyway. But vampiring someone else's energy is the same as drinking the blood of others, just not as stark. It's the consumption of somebody else's energy. And again, that is not understanding the flow, because if you are consistently pulling on someone's time and energy just for your own needs, that is vampirism. Now, egotism may be fulfilled by exploiting the sympathy, trauma, emotion and ignorance of others, as well as utilising coercive force, deception, manipulation, mind control and fraud. The egotist has an overwhelming sense of the centrality of the me, operating in their personal qualities and personal identity. This is a person who cannot be trusted, as they will always manipulate the circumstances to service the self as their primary or only concern. And without developing self-awareness and ego discipline, the untamed negative ego is exploited by mind control and further develops itself into serious spiritual pathologies, which leads to narcissism and psychopathy. The Orion's predator mind plays into service to self also. The imposter spirit is the Luciferian or satanic spirit, which promotes false light authority and the anti-life architecture through deception, lies of omission, manipulation with malice to promote intentional harm, death or destruction to serve its selfish personal agenda. And these anti-life belief systems are the basis which forms the negative ego and was manifested out of the predator mind of the Orion group. They have no feeling body and thus have no empathy. Again, it is revealing we will make man in our image, is it not? But why would you wish to copy an Orion predator mind when you are the crown of creation? Because ultimately being selfish and service to self only is the Orion reptile mind. Something else to deeply ponder on. You must also realise that the lies advances the dark and the darkness within you. Once achieved, it will lead you on to becoming a better man or woman.
Once in a while I drift in time to a place in my memory that it still hurts to find. I was taking on the world with a see-through smile, but dying on the inside all the while. I was dying on the inside all the while. Like a martyr that don't want sympathy, I locked away my feelings and threw away the key. It was gonna take a miracle to pierce my pride, and you were the tower of strength that tried. When your loving washed right over me like the tide. And now I believe in love. I believe in love. You're the reason why I can. 'Cause when I look at myself in the mirror, I see a better man, a better man. Yes, it's hard finding words that can say how I feel about you. I don't care if it sounds like another old cliche, but I can't stand the thought of living my life without you for even a day. Oh, baby. Feels so good. And now I believe in love. Yes, I believe in love. You're the reason why I can. 'Cause when I look at myself in the mirror. Oh baby, when I look at myself in the mirror, when I'm looking at myself in the mirror, I see a better man.
Let's all go on to be better men and better women. And to do that, one has to learn to become service to others. The disciplining trait of being service to others is a simple but increasingly difficult task to undertake due to the culture of greed and scarcity programs, both of which forces people to collect and harvest for themselves only and not have a shred of care that others have little to none. The misconception is that with service to others, one has to totally sacrifice the self in order to achieve it. This is wrong thinking, as you have to have service the self as well to then be in service to others. Now, the description of being in service to others requires you to be 51% or more for others than the self. But then the question becomes, but who then will look after me, some will say. That is a service to self thinking mindset, not service to others. The reality is, if you dedicate a portion of your life in service to others, you will be provided for by the gods and the cosmos. The problem is, people don't trust that concept, yet bizarrely will trust the Jesus, God, Lord, Allah and Buddha constructs. The more you trust the self, coupled with being in service to others, the more your life is provided for. Lower level consciousness will desire things. Higher level consciousness does not desire things. It gets provided to you with what you need and when you need it. And 51% service to others means more of the time is spent for others and the planet, and 49% of the self. The higher consciousness-wise, the more you go into the service to others range, then the higher the percentage of service to others is required. Remember, to advance the soul development planetary levels and go on to becoming a god or goddess requires a very high percentage of service to others, and I would suggest that figure was 90% plus, and possibly even as high as 100%. Because those roles are all about service to others. Selfish people, which is the predominant trait here, will never evolve with that trait beyond the levels 4 to 6 on the consciousness levels chart, and will remain in the fear paradigm for all lifetimes until you learn it is about the all, not just the self. The main problem of the fallen ones was ego, which is all about the self and a fake persona seeking power, fame, wealth and status, has been the downfall of not just gods, but man as well. We will make man in our image springs to mind again. And summing up, service to others is the consciousness of the higher levels of dimension and beings. It is about learning to embrace the all is one, with the one being the all, not the self. And service to others' consciousness is intrinsically integrated with the cosmic sovereign law of God, or the law of one, and is the fifth practice of the law. Now, the law of one is the comprehension that all things are made of intelligent energy and are part of the all one. The law of one is a sacred science of the mechanics of consciousness and are the natural laws governing our universal creation. All one is the recognition that eternal truth is eternal love, and eternal love is the organic consciousness of infinite creator or God source. Eternal love consciousness embodied in a form is unity intelligence, and simultaneously recognized as the inner light of Christos. Unity consciousness is at one with God, and unity consciousness ignites the inner light of Christos. Now, the inner light of Christos, when actualized in form, is the embodiment of an eternal God human. And for those new asking, why is he saying God human? Because all organic beings are a spark of the Creator, and all have the potential to going on to becoming a god or goddess. And it is important to note, particularly to the religious, you become a god or goddess, not the god or goddess. The latter is part of the ego, identifying only with the self. The former is developing yourself into a higher level being who dedicates their life in service to the all. Practice unity consciousness, and one is directly reflecting the image of God's love and is eternally protected. Be at one with all, and one is all with God. But to be in service to others, you have to have the right relationship towards others as self. And when we find ourselves uncomfortable with the actions of others, we can relieve ourselves by remembering to cultivate the right attitude towards the self. The law of one is the universal truth that all is one. Thus, one who practices this understanding of the law of one acts and makes decisions based upon his or her awareness that every action has a consequence to the self and to others. Every action. Furthermore, one who exemplifies the law of one understands that when one person suffers, all people suffer, whether they realize it or not. Why? Because we are all part of the all one. As one self, God self, to be compassion in action towards others is then to be in harmony and the right relationship to self. It is important to note it said the actions towards others, as people will talk of being love and light, humanitarian, soul developed and many other desirable traits, but are not actually doing or being those traits. That is again ego and service to self. Service to others is the actions done on behalf of others and not done for the glory or recompense to and of the self. It is a sacrifice of your time and energy in helping, supporting and caring for others. The basic principles of service to others include: individuals perceive the connection of love in all things and give unconditional love and compassion towards others. And that is about developing the trust within yourself to then be able to trust others based upon the degree of interaction and the actions shown to you. Never judge other people based upon the opinions of others. With most in low consciousness, you will only get the negative opinion of that person, which is reflective of themselves and not always the person being judged. Now, to advance higher, one must have your own blank slate when meeting new people, and your opinions be based upon your interactions only. The graphic equalizer piece I did in the show and on the Common Sense Zoom explains it all in visual form. Individuals are dedicated to their spiritual consciousness growth and to help others with their spiritual development. And this is where the teaching aspect comes in, as once you have developed the self into the love paradigm and rid yourself of all the lower consciousness levels, then you can go on to teaching others who require the knowledge and support. Remember, this is not a competition on this level. Any competitiveness is ego and negates your role within this structure, and you are back to being service to self. Individuals are dedicated into transforming negative ego thoughts through developing GSF behaviour modelling. The negative thought patterns are those mired in the lower consciousness levels. GSF behaviour is God, sovereign and freedom. Although after the last show, perhaps freedom is not the true word, but responsibility, making it GSR behaviour patterning instead. Individuals share information and knowledge with others as open source in unified cooperation. I would exercise caution with that, as it should depend on the levels that people are at, as giving them knowledge they are not ready for can have devastating consequences. In other words, people have to be further advanced than courage on the conscious level chart and halfway up the next stage to then be open to the higher level knowledge and delivered and received with unified cooperation. Individuals have a complete lack of concern for satisfying their materialistic ego needs or satisfying drives of the houses of ego. That is a must for service to others. Ego is the self only, and they are not ready for this stage or advancement. Individuals acknowledge that every person is a spiritual being on their own spiritual growth path and discovery. And that is true, and that is what free will choice is all about. But sadly, there are too many nowhere near the spiritual path, as the Empowerment Show Part 2 revealed. And this is causing much stress and duress to those that are on the true spiritual path, dealing with people who have no interest in developing spiritually. But isn't it funny there is protection for religious groups, including the Church of Satan, yet none exists for the spiritually awakened? Individuals are committed to experiencing a shared positive reality of world humanism with others on the earth. And yes, there are many positives of and for the planet, as we have revealed in the mystery pieces. But sharing positivity with the masses who thrive on negativity is not an easy process. And one could argue it has become an almost impossible task. But positivity can always remain with you as you retain you. Now, in the Law of One, there is a section, Service to Others, Practice 5. And it says, upon firmly loving yourself and honouring your path, find methods to be of service to others that do not overstep personal boundaries of discernment. And yes, you cannot interfere with their path, no matter if you are doing the best for them. They may not see it that way, and so discretion must be heavily used in these engagements. Being of service to others does not include consumptive modelling, such as victim-victimizer, parasitism, or emotional vampirism. Being of service does not hold an ego perspective of entitlement, expectation, or attachment. Practice being of service with unconditional love and naturally flowing in the moment. A case of going with the flow, like the river Inglia. The energy exchange made between participants being of service to others amplifies and expands consciousness growth like no other method. The more you amplify the energetic field of being in service to others, the more joy, harmony and gifts will be brought into your life via support from the cosmos and the gods. And what that is saying is you expand your PSI field out much further when being in service to others than being service to self. That then allows your field to go further afield and influence people around you in a better and natural way of just being yourself. It does not require you to think, I must do this and I must do that. Once fully expanded, your field will have a positive influence for up to 25 miles. And all you have to do then is think positive, operate in a kind and gentle way, and radiate your beacon and influence outward. Do not expect anything in return from those around you. It is a pay-it-forward gift you give, and not for monetary gain, gratitude or popularity. The more service you dedicate to God's plan, the Law of One, the more spiritual support and spiritual presence one can exchange with God force. Next is about one service. There is but one service, the Law of One. The offering of self to be of service to the God Creator is the greatest service, the unity, the fountainhead of all things which spring forth. The being who seeks to be at one with God is with infinite intelligence and eternal nature. And for those new, the God I am referring to is not the God of the book. That is a fraud. This is source. From this purpose, from this offering, a great multiplicity of opportunities will evolve depending upon the light body's spiritual purpose and the body's mind, emotional and spiritual, along with the miasma or karmic ancestral imprints. And these combined distortions are in regard to the various illusions of separation and the various multi-dimensional identities that exist throughout the various timelines of one's time-space illusion. And the virtue gained from dedicated alignment to serve our highest expression in God is to receive the blessings from the spirit of peace. Virtue is almost a lost word now, like truth, honour and integrity. It means moral excellence and righteousness, along with goodness. Now, sadly, more are in tune with virtue signalling than virtue itself, which is the act or practice of conspicuously displaying one's awareness of and attentiveness to political issues, matters of social and racial justice, etc., especially instead of taking effective actions. Hence, very few comes up with solutions and actions to fix it, only talk about it. And the whole of the alt media displays this, but kudos to the few who actually take actions to try to make a difference. But a great multiplicity of opportunities will evolve depending upon the light body's spiritual purpose. In other words, you get to experience more of life and reality than you ever thought possible. The Empowerment Show Part 1 revealed all of that. But as you experience these wonders, one must be aware that very few will support you in what they will deem as your madness. The madness is in the projector, too blind and too mind-controlled to look, never mind see. Do not seek externally for validation of your experiences, and I would also advise you not to speak about them as well, as ultimately they will deem you as mad and or turn against you in envy of your skills and experiences. But the one thing we should all carry, whether service to self or others, is kindness above all, but is essential in being of service to others. It is very clear to most of us that we are part of something humongous happening on planetary Earth currently. The ascension impacts everyone and has personal implications that hold different meanings that are very intimate to each person. Connecting with your soul, connecting with God's source, is very personal. And as part of the human race, we all know what it means to suffer horribly in pain and feel completely alone in the darkness. As we endure this ascension cycle, remember it is about kindness above all. Honour where you are at. Take the time you need. Allow yourself the space to heal and find the kindness for yourself. And as you strengthen your core and can expand your sphere of influence, then practice random acts of kindness towards others. 1 second of criticism, sarcasm, belittling or hateful words can mar and scar a child and a person for life. But that criticism will only bother you if you have not addressed your shadows and deeper inner layers of traumas. The key is not to focus on the detractor and focus only upon you and your reactions. People get a kick out of pulling each other down, and the only way to avoid becoming like them is to step back. Just don't participate. Recognise you have a far greater purpose than scoring points, winning circular arguments, projecting at others, and being generally unkind. Why would you wish to be labelled as unkind? Oh, that's not me, the many will cry. But reality says differently. as one look at any social media or even the alt media will tell you that. Criticisms are useful tools to gauge yourself, trust yourself, be yourself and retain yourself despite the lunacy around you. Criticisms or traumas lasting a lifetime reveals the person is playing the victim, not taking responsibility for the self and then harvesting the energy of others by retelling their horror stories to all and sundry. That is victimizer, service to self. Childhood traumas should be addressed once into adulthood. Otherwise, you will always stay in the child mind, reliving your trauma and not developing as a person or soul-developed being. But 1 second of kindness can elevate a child or person to accomplish greatness that allows them to find their soul. The soul is kind and loving because God is kind and loving. Give a little bit of heart and soul. How about we learn to give a lot of it? How things would change then. Final summary of today's piece. I hope you all got much out of that and causes you to reconsider your path towards or onto the service to others. Many will state they are service to others, humanitarian, love and light, spiritual and virtuous, but that is not the reality, is it? As we look around our own circle, we see selfish people only caring about themselves and their pursuit of glory for the vessel only. Service to others is about the pursuit of being part of the all, being part of a spiritual path, being part of something far greater than we all imagined, and about being a part of Source itself. To those few, sadly, that are on that path, one struggles to comprehend as to why most are not on that path. Because it makes life so much simpler. And yes, you will not be popular with most of those around you, but that is vessel glory, not soul glory. The truth makes life far simpler than the lie. Service to others makes life far simpler than being selfish. Understanding and embracing reality, which is truth, makes life far simpler than living the illusion. One of the great illusions of the non-reality world is the quest to save time. And people go to enormous lengths to save time, including putting their lives at risk. But the path to spiritual development does actually save you enormous amounts of time. That time then can be used to focus on more important things than chasing shekels, arguing or fighting with people, defending your truth, seeking approval, worrying about this person or that person, life situations and relationships. Because when you truly develop, you will not engage in any of the above, and the answers you seek are already within you. So it's the ultimate time saver in a world of time as you journey onto the zone of no time. And saving time is usually based around fear, yet fear will cost you an enormous amount of time also. Worrying about every situation, event or potential event is a total waste of time when you have the ability, once developed, to manifest a different outcome. Service to others is the pay it forward method, not a payback system, which involves an exchange of two or more entities only, the payback system. But when with the service to others method, if done correctly, as it is about an infinite number of exchanges as being part of the all one, of which there is no finite experience, something that money, drugs, alcohol, sex or religion can never give you. And neither will the illusion of inflating yourself to look better or greater than others, which is ego. Ego, again, is about the vessel and is totally service to self. All those 6 addictions or traits can take up a vast amount of time and, more importantly, your life force energy. Remove yourself from the selfish time construct and constraints and chart your path forward to embrace your time, your energy and your life force towards the journey of ultimate discovery, which is you. This has been the truth Honour and Integrity Show. My name's Thomas Williams. Bye for now. THI's service to other shows continues in 48 hours' time. Bye for now.